Et là-dessus, les choses sont simples.
Several other Gulf countries were hit for the first time on their production capacity, in the same way that Iran was hit in the morning. This escalation is reckless. I was then able to speak with President Trump yesterday. And he, during the night, himself called for a halt to all these bombings and attacks on civilian infrastructure, gas, oil, but also water. As you know, it does not depend on us. We are committed, we are discussing, but we did not launch these strikes and we are not, obviously, involved. I hope that, in any case, everyone will come to their senses, because all of this, obviously, has an impact. An impact on all the countries that are affected. It has an impact on the global market. We will then have the opportunity to discuss obviously the situation in Ukraine. First, because we will speak with President Zelensky, and there above all, the things are simple. I would like to insist on 2 points. First, we must implement the €90 billion loan that was decided last December. This is a decision that was made by the heads of state and government. It must be implemented. And we must increase our military production capacities. This is what we have been advocating for months. We have put the instruments in place because we know that we, for our own security and the Ukrainians, will increasingly need more European production in the current context. The third topic we will discuss is obviously the situation in the Middle East. First, with a discussion with Secretary General Guterres, which will allow us to also revisit the humanitarian situation in Gaza, which we must not forget and for which we must remain mobilized. And then we will obviously advocate for de-escalation and a return to stability in the Middle East. I would like to say here that yesterday, I had the opportunity to speak with the Emir of Qatar, who has been directly affected, and the gas production capacities have been hit. Several other Gulf countries were hit for the first time on their production capacity, in the same way that Iran was hit in the morning. This escalation is reckless. I was then able to speak with President Trump yesterday. And he, during the night, himself called for a halt to all these bombings and attacks on civilian infrastructure, gas, oil, but also water. And I want to say here, we support the idea of a moratorium on the infrastructure civilians, the civilian people in this conflict, and a rapid de-escalation. And as the region enters a period of religious holidays, I think that everyone should calm down and the fighting should stop at least for a few days to try to give negotiations a chance. And this is an absolutely key point, also, on our agenda. And so France advocates, as always, the return to negotiation, the return to dialogue, and de-escalation in the region. This is what we are going to talk about. As you know, it does not depend on us. We are committed, we are discussing, but we did not launch these strikes and we are not, obviously, involved. We are involved in the defense of the countries that are affected when we have peace agreements, simply in a defensive manner. I hope that, in any case, everyone will come to their senses, because all of this, obviously, has an impact. An impact on all the countries that are affected. It has an impact on the global market. We know that since the beginning of this war, the prices of gas and oil have increased, because we are talking about 20% of what supplies the global market passing through Hormuz. But if the production capacities themselves are destroyed, there will be a much more lasting impact from this war. So we will continue to mobilize. And obviously we have also conveyed this message to the Iranians, and I wish, that's why there should be direct discussions that can be established between Americans and Iranians on this point.
Mr. President, to help their fellow citizens with energy, will we have to do something?
Listen, it is up to the government to do this work in the coming times. I think that first, what needs to be done is to address the root causes of what is happening. Today, there is a war that is blocking the transit of gas and oil, and there is a war that is destroying some of its capacities today. So it is absolutely necessary to succeed in stopping this situation, to return to a time of discussion, negotiation, and then, in an appropriate international, non-conflictual framework, we can gradually allow maritime transport to resume functioning through the Strait of Hormuz, to allow oil, gas, but also fertilizers to recirculate. Then, there are the measures we can take during this short-term period. We did it by releasing strategic reserves of oil. And we will continue to manage this carefully in consultation. We want to help Lebanon with its territorial integrity, sovereignty, and security. To do this, it is necessary to help the Lebanese authorities, both political and military, to regain control, to have a monopoly on weapons, as President Aoun has very clearly stated, and therefore allow them to orchestrate this effort, to retrieve the weapons, all the capabilities, and to remove them from Hezbollah. The second thing is then to convince Israel that this task should be carried out by the Lebanese and the Lebanese armed forces, and not by violating Lebanese territorial sovereignty or by bombing Lebanese territory. There are proposals, there is work. As you know, there is a coordination mechanism that exists with the United States and France. And it is within this framework with the United States that we continue to work, and we are assisting President Aoun, Prime Minister Nawaf Salam, and we are fully on their side.
Avec les États-Unis et la France.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.